A Bible Commentary on the Book of Daniel. By Brian Pepper. Chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10 verse 1. In the 3rd year of Cyrus king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar, and the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing, and had understanding of the vision. In the 3rd year of Cyrus king of Persia. This is the only prophecy of Daniel's, dated in terms of Cyrus' reign. Cyrus is given the title of king of Persia, which indicates that the whole empire was ruled by the Persians. This would be somewhere around 536/535 BC. Daniel was now apparently near the end of his life, being about 88 years old. A thing was revealed unto Daniel. This is a rather unique expression for Daniel to use in describing his 4th great prophetic outline. Whose name was called Belteshazzar, and the thing was true. Belteshazzar possibly means, Bel protect his, the king's, life. And the thing was true. The vision was correct or accurate. But the time appointed was long. The text seems to emphasize an intensity of struggle. It was a great conflict, Revised Standard Version, rather than an extended period of time. And he understood the thing. In contrast to the other 3 visions which used highly symbolic terms, this final one was given largely in literal language. And had understanding of the vision. Perhaps many of the details were not really clear, but Daniel had some understanding of what was involved. Daniel chapter 10 verse 2. In those days I Daniel was mourning 3 full weeks. Mourning. Daniel does not give a specific reason for his mourning, but it was possibly because of a crisis that had arisen, owing to opposition against the Jews in their efforts to begin rebuilding Jerusalem. Because of false reports sent by the Samaritans to the court of Persia, there was a threat that building operations might be stopped. It was evident that a vital decision was at stake during these 3 weeks, for the angel Michael was struggling to influence Cyrus to make the right decision. Daniel chapter 10 verse 3. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth. Pleasant bread, that is delicacies, during his period of fasting. Daniel ate only the simplest of food sufficient to maintain his strength. Self-denial. Neither did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. The use of oils for soothing the skin was in great popularity among ancient peoples, especially those who lived in countries where the climate was very hot and dry. During his period of fasting and prayer, the prophet denied himself this personal luxury. Daniel chapter 10 verse 4. And in the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel. And in the 24th day of the 1st month. This is the only date in the book of Daniel given to the exact day and month. It is not sure whether the reckoning is according to the Babylonian/Persian calendar or the Jewish calendar. However, it does indicate that Daniel's fast was during the Passover season. As I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel. This Hebrew name represents the Tigris. The Tigris is the smaller of the 2 great rivers of Mesopotamia. Daniel chapter 10 verse 5. Then I lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. And behold a certain man clothed in linen. A heavenly being who appears in human form. This heavenly being seems to be none other than Christ. Daniel chapter 7 verse 13 says, like the Son of Man. Some have rendered this, like a Son of Man. However, scholars feel that this does not do justice to the true meaning of the word, which is Aramaic. It is felt that instead of the translation a Son of Man, the translation, one, human in form, would more adequately represent the Aramaic phrase. God chose to present his Son in prophetic vision with special emphasis on his humanity. Whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. The location of Uphaz is not known. This name is only mentioned again in Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 9, where Uphaz is again mentioned as a source of gold. Daniel chapter 10 verse 6. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. The description given here reminds one very much of the description John the Revelator gives of the glorified Christ in the first chapter. It would seem fairly evident that this being can be none other than Christ. Gabriel, the chief messenger of God, is never described in this way, nor any other angel. Daniel could not bear the gaze, for his eyes appeared as lamps of fire. Daniel chapter 10 verse 7. And I Daniel alone saw the vision, for the men that were with me saw not the vision, but a great quaking fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves. And I Daniel alone saw the vision, for the men that were with me saw not the vision. This revelation was given only to Daniel, God's chosen servant, yet the effect of the presence of this heavenly being was felt by those who were with the prophet. Paul, had a similar experience, Acts chapter 9 verses 3-7 and chapter 22 verses 6-9. But a great quaking fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves. The brightness which shone round about Michael was too great for the eyes of the companions of Daniel, and they hastened to hide themselves. The countenance of Christ was like lightning, and as he gazed upon the prostrate form of Daniel, the other men fled for their lives. Daniel chapter 10 verse 8. Therefore I was left alone, and saw this great vision, and there remained no strength in me, for my comeliness was turned in me into corruption, and I retained no strength. And there remained no strength in me. This is one of the physical conditions of a prophet in vision. Daniel chapter 10 verse 9. Yet heard I the voice of his words, and when I heard the voice of his words, then was I in a deep sleep on my face, and my face toward the ground. A deep sleep or complete loss of physical consciousness. Rather hard to explain, as the prophet though unconscious heard and saw all that the angel was to give him. There is something supernatural about a vision, and although Daniel apparently was unconscious, yet he was able to understand what the angel said. Daniel chapter 10 verse 10. And, behold, an hand touched me, which set me upon my knees and upon the palms of my hands. The hand that touched him was evidently that of Gabriel. Daniel chapter 10 verse 11. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. O Daniel, a man greatly beloved. This is the second time that Daniel had been told of God's love for him. Understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. Daniel's prayer had been for an understanding, or a better knowledge of what would happen to the Jewish people in the future. Daniel chapter 10 verse 12. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. Then said he unto me, Fear not. These words were to encourage the prophet, for in verse 11 we read that he stood trembling. For from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. Daniel was praying 3 full weeks before any answer appeared, yet the angel told him that from the first day of his prayer his words were heard, and in spite of the seeming delay, the angel had been sent to inform and enlighten him. Daniel chapter 10 verse 13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, but, lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Little do we realize what is going on in the unseen world in relation to human affairs. Without question, Gabriel had been trying to get the king of Persia to do something that would be for the benefit of God's people. But the king did not respond. Since human beings are given free will, they have the power to resist the workings of the angels of God. Satan must have been there to oppose the work of God, and all the motives of selfish interest and worldly policy were played upon, to influence the king against carrying out God's will. But, lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Michael. The margin of the authorized version gives him the title of the first of the princes, while in the first verse of Daniel chapter 12 he is termed the great prince who standeth for the children of thy people. Jude verse 9 calls him the archangel, a title that seems to be distinctive, for there seems to be but one archangel. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 16 we are told that the voice of the archangel will raise the dead, while in John chapter 5 verse 28 we are told that it is Christ who raises the dead. So it seems quite clear that Michael is none other than Christ. I remained there with the kings of Persia. With Michael coming to support Gabriel, the powers of heaven gained the victory. The evil one was forced to retreat. Possibly Gabriel stayed on to make sure that all would be well. Daniel chapter 10 verse 14. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the vision is for many days. That shall befall thy people in the latter days. This prophecy, like Daniel's other prophecies, stretches down through the centuries to the very climax of human history and the setting up of God's everlasting kingdom. Daniel chapter 10 verse 15. And when he had spoken such words unto me, I set my face toward the ground, and I became dumb. The reason Daniel was not able to speak, he was overwhelmed with the conviction that his people were to suffer for long ages. He had earnestly hoped that he might be able to return to Palestine, and to see Jerusalem with the temple once more established there. The announcement that the vision was for many days or a very long period of time, dashed his hopes and brought sorrow to him. Daniel chapter 10 verse 16. And, behold, one like the similitude of the sons of men touched my mouth, and spake, and said unto him that stood before me, O my Lord, by the vision my sorrows are turned upon me, and I have retained no strength. One like the similitude of the sons of men touched my mouth. Gabriel veiled his brightness and appeared in human form. By the vision my sorrows are turned upon me, and I have retained no strength. The vision the prophet refers to, most likely is the vision of the divine glory he was witnessing. Daniel chapter 10 verse 17. For how can the servant of this my Lord talk with this my Lord? For as for me, straightway there remained no strength in me, neither is there breath left in me. The vision of glory that he had witnessed was too much for him, it left him completely overpowered. Daniel chapter 10 verse 18. Then there came again and touched me one like the appearance of a man, and he strengthened me. Gabriel strengthened the gray-haired prophet. Daniel chapter 10 verse 19. And said, O man greatly beloved, fear not, peace be unto thee, be strong, yea, be strong. And when he had spoken unto me, I was strengthened, and said, Let my Lord speak, for thou hast strengthened me. And said, O man greatly beloved, fear not. Twice in this same chapter Daniel is assured that he is greatly beloved. Heaven is proud of his courage and determination to do that which is right. Peace be unto thee, be strong, yea, be strong. And when he had spoken unto me, I was strengthened, and said, Let my Lord speak, for thou hast strengthened me. As the words were spoken, immediately Daniel regained his strength and now is physically able to cope with the vision. Daniel chapter 10 verse 20. Then said he, Knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia, and when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia, and when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. This means to fight on the side of the prince of Persia. The powers of heaven were on the side of the Persians, so long as God's wisdom and foreknowledge saw that this would be for the best. When I am gone forth. That is, when I have completed this work of upholding the Persian cause, then the prince of Greece shall come. In chapter 8 it had been definitely announced that Greece would be the next great world empire, and now Gabriel unfolds the powers that would oppress God's people, from Daniel's day to the setting up of God's eternal kingdom. Daniel chapter 10 verse 21. But I will show thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth, and there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael your prince. That which is noted in the scripture of truth. And how accurate are the things recorded in the scripture of truth. Even the finest details of history have been recorded and are there for us to study. There is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael your prince. In this passage, Gabriel says that he and Michael have the responsibility of holding in check the forces of evil among the nations, and the managing of the affairs of this world.